North Korea says the nukes are here to stay. And friendship alone won't cut it. Yo Jong calls 2025 a different world. And Trump's old playbook won't fly. So with power redrawn and threats renewed, is Washington ready to talk or just hoping history repeats? North Korea has sent a carefully crafted message to Washington this week, suggesting that relations between Kim Jong-un and President Donald Trump remain positive, while making clear that any future dialogue must acknowledge a fundamental shift in the global balance of power. In a statement released on July 29th through the official Korean Central News Agency, Yo Jong, the influential sister of North Korea's leader, offered what appeared to be both an olive branch and a warning to the Trump administration.
I do not want to deny the fact that the personal relationship between the head of our state and the present U.S. president is not bad. It is worth taking into account the fact that the year 2025 is neither 2018 nor 2019.
The statement comes as the White House has indicated Trump remains open to engagement with Pyongyang. But Yo Jong made clear that this approach would no longer be acceptable to Pyongyang.
However, if the personal relations between the top leaders of the DPRK and the U.S. are to serve the purpose of denuclearization, it can be interpreted as nothing but a mockery of the other party. If the U.S. fails to accept the changed reality and persists in the failed past, the DPRK-U.S. meeting will remain as a hope of the U.S. side.
The North Korean position represents a stark departure from previous diplomatic overtures. Rather than seeking sanctions relief in exchange for nuclear concessions, Pyongyang now demands recognition as a nuclear power as a prerequisite for any talks.
The recognition of the irreversible position of the DPRK as a nuclear weapon state and the hard fact that its capabilities and geopolitical environment have radically changed should be a prerequisite for predicting and thinking about everything in the future. No one can deny the reality and should not misunderstand. Any attempt to deny the position of the DPRK as a nuclear weapon state will be thoroughly rejected.
The timing of these statements reflects North Korea's significantly strengthened position since the breakdown of diplomacy in 2019. Intelligence estimates suggest the country has assembled around 50 nuclear warheads and possesses enough fissile material to produce up to 40 more. In September 2023, North Korea enshrined its status as a permanent nuclear power in its constitution. The coordinated nature of North Korea's recent statements reveals a broader diplomatic strategy aimed at seizing control of the regional agenda following political changes in both Washington and Seoul. Yo Jong's recent statement to the United States followed her July 28th rejection of overtures from South Korea's newly inaugurated President Lee Jae-myung, who had proposed adjusting joint military exercises with the US to facilitate diplomacy. Young Moo-jin, head of the University of North Korean Studies, explained the significance of this dual approach.
This demonstrates North Korea's intent to take the lead, whether through dialogue or confrontation, in shaping the Korean Peninsula agenda.
The statements represent what analysts describe as Pyongyang's attempt to establish new parameters for engagement. Rather than waiting for initiatives from Washington or Seoul, North Korea is proactively defining the terms under which it might consider future talks. Jenny Town, director of the Korea program at the Stimson Center in Washington, noted that Yo Jong's messaging carefully avoids directly criticizing Trump while firmly rejecting previous diplomatic frameworks.
It avoids naming Trump directly, leaving room for some kind of diplomacy in the future to still be possible, but dispels the notion that denuclearization talks can simply be picked up where they left off.
The geopolitical landscape that North Korea now operates in differs dramatically from the period of summit diplomacy. Pyongyang has deepened its alliance with Russia, providing troops and weapons for Moscow's war in Ukraine in exchange for fuel, food, and advanced military technology. This partnership has reduced North Korea's dependence on Chinese support and lessened the impact of international sanctions. KCNA's news report on Tuesday highlighted this shifting alignment, noting the resumption of the first direct passenger flight between Pyongyang and Moscow in decades. The flight resumed amid the daily growing many-sided visits and contact between North Korea and Russia. Lim Yul-chul, a professor at Kyungnam University's Institute for Far Eastern Studies in Seoul, suggests that North Korea's approach reflects confidence in its improved strategic position.
North Korea appears to be seeking to secure favorable conditions, such as recognition as a nuclear state by leveraging President Trump's willingness to engage in dialogue.
However, he cautioned that Pyongyang maintains realistic expectations about immediate progress.
Pyongyang has no expectations of an immediate improvement in relations either with the US or the South.
The White House response has remained consistent with previous policy positions. When asked about Kim Yo Jong's statement, a White House official told Reuters that
Trump retains those objectives and remains open to engaging with Leader Kim to achieve a fully denuclearized North Korea.
this position reflects the administration's continued commitment to the denuclearization goal that defined their previous meetings. This fundamental disagreement over North Korea's nuclear status suggests that any future diplomacy will require either a significant policy shift from Washington or continued stalemate. As Kim Yo Jong made clear in her Tuesday statement,
the DPRK is open to any option in defending its present national position.
this indicated that North Korea is prepared for either diplomatic engagement or continued isolation on its terms.